Well, one idea I have that I'd love to just get your reaction to is if you go back to 2008, 2009, during 2008, there was a liquidity crisis over the summer. Gold sold off 30% or so. The government took about 4, 5, 6 months to really kind of get their heads around what should we do here. They ended up stepping in. They went ahead and started with, hundreds of billions, which at the time was, absolutely massive monetary bombs. And then ultimately an asset like gold hit the all-time high, I think it was in 2011. So kind of, 2.5 years later. And so if you take that as kind of a sequence of events that occurred over, let's say, a 3-year time period, we basically got the exact same sequence of events, but it was packed into now, rather than 3 years, maybe, 3 to 6 months in 2020, where we started to see all-time highs and government intervention, et cetera. Is your belief or kind of your thought process, like we're just going to see this happen faster and faster and faster as we continue? Or do you think that the kind of public health crisis and what we saw in 2020, that might actually end up being the outlier in terms of the speed and the severity of a response in that intervention? Because I think what's so interesting about you is you actually are not anti-intervention. You're just intervention when most needed, or intervention in an emergency scenario. And so how do you think about the speed at which it has happened this last time? And is that going to be the norm or the outlier moving forward in future kind of crisis or emergencies?
Yeah, this is a really tricky one. My view is that the Fed is beholden to markets at this point. It's just not my opinion based on fluff. It's just the evidence that we have. We have yet to see a Fed chairman since the global financial crisis that had the backbone to actually allow markets to have some pain. And I think the problem is what I mentioned earlier: valuations have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So they're really afraid of the monster that they have created. The ECB, and I'll just throw this out, last cycle before the COVID crisis hit was the largest expansion since the Second World War. Things were going well, but the ECB didn't manage to raise rates at all. They stayed negative through the entire process. The last time they raised rates was almost 11 years ago. Think about that. And so this was this whole deflationary spiral that we've been in, and they've never managed to get themselves out of that. So I keep asking myself the question of efficacy. And given the amount of money and the speed that they went in, they have shown efficacy in terms of asset prices. The question is, what is the structural economy underneath? Because whatever we saw last year, let's be very clear, it's all manufactured. Yes, you can have the most incredible party if you throw $11 trillion combined fiscal monetary into a system. Unfortunately, that just tells you preciously nothing about what the real economy actually looks like. So this year we'll be seeing the beginning of a process. My worry is that, for example, I mentioned at the outset, retail sales 25% above trend. If those just revert to pre-COVID trend, you're already in a recession, right? Because you've jumped over the line so far that just a reversal to base trend gets you into major economic trouble. Just like inflation, GDP growth is also relative, right? So if you want to bring inflation down, you're going to end up with growth coming down. So that I have no idea what they're going to do. I don't know what their backbone is in regards to letting the system flush itself out. And I don't think you can do it without a recession. I don't want to see a recession, but that's the risk. You either maintain the bubble indefinitely, which there's no history of that happening, or you're going to have to take the pain in some shape or form. And then when the pain comes, how much are they willing to take before then repeating the cycle all over again? It's actually mad if you think about it, right?
It's insane is the best way that I could think about it.